Do you agree with Candace Owens that the reason we are not going to see the client list is because Israel is implicated?
Do you agree with that anti-Semite that Jeffrey Epstein was actually a Mossad agent? Do you actually agree with that? And they talk like Ben Shapiro. They look like Laura Loomer.
Israel is implicated. I'm just going to say that.
But what would Israel have to do with Epstein?
I mean, the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, lived at Epstein's townhouse for years. I mean, the allegation is that Epstein was running a blackmail operation against powerful people where they would be videotaped having outside of marriage or illegally with underage women, and that information will be used against them to get them to comply with whatever request that government wanted them to comply with. I think it's absolutely fair to ask, to what extent was Epstein involved in a foreign intelligence operation on our soil? This is our country. This country doesn't belong to any foreign country. Okay, this is our country. I was born here. I pay taxes here. So if some foreign country, I don't care if you claim it's our ally or not, is running an intel operation on my soil, I have a right to know what that was.
Tucker Carlson is someone who fundamentally cannot be president in the eyes of Laura Loomer, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, all these people, right? And he actually would have a very good shot of winning. For the first time in, modern American history, you have the vast majority of Americans that are waking up to the BS that's been fed to them by the AI, Hasbara, Ben Shapiro, mainstream media complex, Daily Wire, The Blaze, all of these institutions, right? People are waking up, and that scares the Zionists. A majority of Republicans under 45 years old, 51% of them, support a presidential candidate who would cut U.S. military aid to Israel, according to a recent YouGov poll conducted for IMEU. Among Republicans under 45 years old, 53% want to allow the Memorandum of Understanding, which supplies $3.8 billion in aid to Israel annually, to expire without renewal. 51% oppose the 20-year, $76 billion aid deal Trump is currently negotiating with Israel. Additionally, 52% of all Republicans would favor a nominee who prioritizes affordability for Americans over aid to Israel. Go figure. 17% of Republicans even say they would vote for a Democratic candidate if they put Americans' economic welfare before the defense of Israel. Republicans largely concur that legitimate criticism of Israel is protected by free speech is too often labeled as anti-Semitic, with 48% agreeing overall, including 50% of Republicans under 45 and 47% over 45, while only 23% disagree. The Republican Party has a big problem right now because their whole shtick has been Islamic terrorism is the greatest threat to all of humanity, and we need to do something about it. We need to give money to Israel. Then Israel sends them ridiculous amounts in campaign contributions. Cycle continues. Cycle never ends. Except, the baby boomer generation's getting kind of old. Except the old folk are forgetting how to vote. Except there's a new generation which is now rising. You think that we and Gen Z are bad? Wait till you see Gen A. You think Gen A is going to give a single fuck about Israel? If you think Gen Z is bad, wait till you see Gen A. Wait 5-10 years. Wait till you see Gen A. They're not going to give a single fuck about Israel. They don't care. It's going to be, you think the memes are bad now? You think the jokes are bad now? You think they're insensitive now? ADL's freaking out now? Wait just a little bit longer, and you guys are not going to know what to do with yourselves, okay? Because Gen A is coming, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare for them. Ben Shapiro, by the way, is losing an average of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube each and every day, having lost 30,000 subscribers in the past 30 days. I think that's how many subscribers we've gained in the past 30 days as we've launched this new channel. So I think all of Ben Shapiro's people, they're waking up, smelling the roses. They're coming to the truth. They're coming to, I don't know, maybe that's part of what's happening. Republicans are increasingly alienated by Shapiro's unwaveringly pro-Israel rhetoric and penchant for equating skepticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. Maybe they also just think that, raising the retirement age to 150 years old is not a good idea. Because Ben Shapiro said, okay, talking about Israel isn't working anymore. So What's another unpopular thing we can discuss on the Daily Wire? What if we say that America must raise the retirement age to 375 years old? How about that? How about that? You know, this is where they're at now. Shapiro was most recently met with boos after delivering a speech at TPUSA's AmFest in which he accused colleagues such as Steve Bannon, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens of peddling conspiracism and anti-Semitism. You know, when you think about it, how does the state of Israel justify its continued existence, funding, so on and so forth, right? Israel's existence as a state is much like the ADL's existence as an organization, right? The ADL will say, you know, there's all these examples of the ADL saying, oh, a hate crime was committed. And then it actually was a Zionist that committed the hate crime and spray painted something nefarious on a Jewish restaurant. The state of Israel, well, we all know that they funded the rise of Hamas. And then once they said, oh, we'll control the flame. And then they didn't control the flame. And then Hamas moderated its position and then gained a lot of sympathy from the international community when a genocide was committed against the Palestinian people. But it's like there's never enough enemies for it. You know, it used to be the Egyptians. Oh, we got to take out the Egyptians. The Egyptians are the biggest threat in the world. We got to take out the Egyptians. Oh, now we got to take out the Iranians. Oh, we got to take out the Gazans, right? And that's how they justify the endless spending from the U.S., from Western countries towards Israel. And if it's not endless spending, because now they understand that the endless spending thing is not really a good look, it's causing Americans to get pissed off. So what do they do now? They say, oh, well, Trump, if you could just direct $8.6 billion to Boeing so Boeing could send us some fighter jets, that would be terrific, right? Because then it's not like direct military aid. Huh? You guys see what's happening there. We give them $4 billion a year in direct military aid, or direct aid, but they just secured $8.6 billion, I think was the sum total, through Trump directing Boeing to make fighter jets for Israel. Okay, that's how it goes. They're being more clever now. But there's always a new threat throughout the entire existence. Oh, it's Assad. Assad is the threat now. Oh, a sovereign Somali state is the threat now. Oh, you know, Yemen. If the south of Yemen doesn't become an independent state, that's a threat because we have to protect our interests in the south of Yemen so we can encircle Iran from the south. You know, we can encircle Saudi Arabia. See what's going on here. Laura Loomer, just stop. Tucker Carlson should never be allowed inside the White House. The scary thing is she actually does have influence in the White House. That's a scary thing, right? So anyways, Tucker Carlson has been going on a tear as of late, and I really appreciate what he's doing. He's really speaking out. He's really sticking his neck out. As for people on the right that I would support, people on the American right that I would support, in this right-left distinction, it's so fake, so fraudulent, right? You're either an American patriot or you're not. All right? People look at, you know, let's take this for example. The American Communist Party, the number one point on their program is talking about debt forgiveness and canceling the debt. Tucker Carlson talks about that all the time now. Charlie Kirk was, oddly enough, talking about it right before he was unalived, right? That is a patriotic position to take in this country. To say, no, we don't want 50% of every single dollar we pay in taxes going to transnational corporations and international interests, this international class of finance capital, this creditor class that oversees everything in the world. We don't want 50% of each dollar we spend going to whatever that is, whatever they're doing. All right. So Tucker Carlson also supports that same principle. But then the so-called socialists like AOC they're approving more money for Israel's Iron Dome. The socialists like AOC are begging the Trump administration to increase U.S. aid once more, so USAID can direct funds for color revolutions all across the world in countries that do not bend the knee to the U.S. empire. You are not a socialist. You are a CIA stooge. You are a Trotskyite, just like Noam Chomsky, who apparently spends his time butting around with Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein's moving $275,000 for him at a time. You are all frauds. You are not American patriots. Tucker Carlson is an American patriot. Take a listen to what he's saying here.
I did not vote for this, just to be clear.
Indonesia has 350 million Muslims living in the country. How do we change their textbooks?
You know who that guy is? Talking about changing Indonesian textbooks. By the way, that guy sounds much more like AOC, right? Than the American Communist Party. The American Communist Party looks at that. We say, what the hell is that? This is Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan. Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan, though he sounds like AOC, is Trump's anti-Semitism envoy. The U.S. government officials are talking about how do we change the textbooks of Muslim ultra-majority nation of Indonesia.
How do we hold the people in Gaza accountable?
I mean, for Rabbi, whatever his name is, to say we need to hold the people of Gaza accountable when they've already murdered tens of thousands of women and children, murdered them. It's a crime. It's a crime. And when the more you know about it, the more shocking it is that it's happened. A first world country doing something, murdering all those kids, murdering them, which they have. And all these people like Rabbi whatever and Mark Levin defending it.
How do we hold the Gazan people accountable? Did we not just commit a genocide for the past 2.5 years? How do we hold them accountable? And this, by the way, this woman on the bottom, I don't know what's with these Zionists. They all have this like Laura Loomer physiognomy. It's very frightening, actually. This Laura Loomer, Maria Corina Machado, the Venezuelan U.S. opposition candidate, the CIA Zionist candidate in Venezuela, like she has this physiognomy. Your looks, your facial structure, they emanate from your personality, your morality, how you behave, right? And that's why you can look at someone on the bottom and just say, wow, she looks very stupid. And listen to what she says.
Do you agree with Candace Owens that the reason we are not going to see the client list is because Israel is implicated?
Do you agree with that anti-Semite that Jeffrey Epstein was actually a Mossad agent? Do you actually agree with that? And they talk like Ben Shapiro. They look like Laura Loomer.
Israel is implicated. I'm just going to say that.
But what would Israel have to do with Epstein?
I mean, the former prime minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, lived at Epstein's townhouse for years. I mean, the allegation is that Epstein was running a blackmail operation against powerful people where they would be videotaped having outside of marriage or illegally with underage women, and that information would be used against them to get them to comply with whatever request that government wanted them to comply with. I think it's absolutely fair to ask, to what extent was Epstein involved in a foreign intelligence operation on our soil? This is our country. This country doesn't belong to any foreign country. Okay, this is our country. I was born here. I pay taxes here. So if some foreign country, I don't care if you claim it's our ally or not, is running an intel operation on my soil, I have a right to know what that was.
Actually, why do you actually think that Jeffrey Epstein was working for Israel? Now, Tucker's gone even more based as of late. He's not just calling out the Mossad Epstein connection. He's not just calling out Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan, talking about, well, we need to find a way to hold the Gazan people accountable now. After 3 years almost of genocide, we need to find a way to hold those pesky Gazans accountable. He's also saying stuff like this. This is an interview with the American Conservative.
I mean, this is the whole game. This is how, the United States has somehow tied itself to the anchor of Gaza. Like, why are we responsible for Bibi's mass murder? Well, we are now, partly because so many Americans have been told over and over and over, like, your destiny is intertwined with Israel. Israel's our most important ally. There is no sense in which Israel is an important ally. It's not even an ally. it's a liability. I mean, this is the whole game. This is how, the United States has somehow tied itself to the anchor of Gaza. Like, why are we responsible?
Exactly. He went on in this interview to say that hating Muslims is just another classic Israeli government psyop meant to propagandize Americans to believe that Israel's enemies are their own. I don't know anyone in the United States in the last 24 years who's been killed by radical Islam. I do know a lot of people who have killed themselves. I know people who've died from drug overdoses, more than a few. I know people who can't get jobs. None of the boys in my daughter's class can get jobs. None of those white boys can get jobs. They're being destroyed by Adderall and video games and porn. I see millions of Americans being destroyed, and none of it is at the hands of radical Islam. Is radical Islam more dangerous than OnlyFans? It's not even close. Turning some huge percentage of American women into prostitutes, that's not radical Islam doing that, actually. I wonder what is doing that.
Why would the United States of Israel support Israel?
Master Potato, thank you so much. Well, maybe it's because if these Congress people don't, they get blackmailed. They get primary opponents that get sponsored by every single Zionist organization to the tune of, tens of millions of dollars in their campaigns. Sometimes worse things happen than that. Sometimes you end up like JFK. So, I fully agree with this, and I will say a brief note here on this point, because this question was in relation to Tucker being asked about at the TPUSA America Fest event. People were asked, what's the number one threat facing America? And the respondents, allegedly, I'm going to make a call on this one. That was a fraudulent vote, fake news, stolen election, stop the steal. I'm going to guess that the people that booed Ben Shapiro en masse and cheered for Bannon, cheered for Tucker Carlson when they called out the Zionist relationship, I'm going to guess they did not say that the Muslim threat is the largest threat to the American people right now. I'm going to guess that was totally made up and fictitious. But what I will say is that over the past year, we'll do a bit of reflecting. I went to Iraq, Shia majority nation. I went to Lebanon, heavily Shia nation, Shia majority nation, very diverse nation, but lots of Shia. Also a lot of Sunni in Iraq, but majority Shia. Where else should I go? I went to Yemen, also Shia, different Shia than in Lebanon, but also Shia. And what I got to say is, I also went to Sunni, I went to Qatar, right? And I interviewed Hamas in Qatar. I went to Turkey, Sunni state. And what I got to say is I loved everywhere I went. And everywhere I went was very hospitable. But what I will say is that in the Shia countries I went to, I found a very unique, hospitable people, the most hospitable people I've ever met in my life, Shia Muslims. And they were so welcoming, and they have great respect and great appreciation for Christians, for Jesus Christ, for Christianity. There is a very, very deep tie between, specifically, Christianity and Shia Islam. I went to Arba'in in Iraq, which is the Shia pilgrimage to Karbala. And the number of similarities between, I'm not saying the stories are similar in whole, but there are similar takeaways that you can make between the stories of Karbala and the life of Jesus Christ, and the values that are preached at Karbala are very similar. And of course, they consider Jesus to be not just a prophet, but the one of the most important prophets, right behind Muhammad. So there is a great deal of respect that I found for Shia Muslims in traveling to these places. And also just like terrific food, great culture. I don't understand why they're trying to make us hate Muslims. Oh, wait, I do understand that fully, and I know why they're doing that.
How does any ethnic group have a, quote, right to a country? Where does that right emanate from? Does it emanate from Holy Scripture? Okay, which ones do you believe in and which ones? And then we can ask real questions. And then in what sense are the current occupants of Israel related to the people that I read about in, say, Deuteronomy? Are they genetically the same? Well, we can test for that, actually. How about 23andMe? Oh, it's banned in Israel. How weird.
Right.
Is it the same religion? I was told this was Talmudic Judaism, which was created after the destruction of the temple. So just explain, since you brought it up, why don't you explain to me what the hell you're talking about? Because I don't understand it. How does any ethnic group have a, quote?
Tucker Carlson's going all in. And to be honest with you, the reason why I show you that is to remind you all that there are a lot of people in the United States who I think would not only be okay with, but radically support Tucker Carlson running for president. And, you know, they're going to try to put JD Vance. Okay, JD Vance. I have no sympathy for JD Vance. I think he's skirting he's trying to skirt any sort of responsibility for the bad moves of Trump without maybe influencing him all that much on these matters. I mean, we had Trump yesterday effectively say that he's ready for another war on Iran. Okay, I mean, like, where's JD Vance? Isn't he supposed to be providing some sort of advice on these matters? Tucker Carlson is someone who fundamentally cannot be president in the eyes of Laura Loomer, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, all these people, right? And he actually would have a very good shot of winning. And the crazy thing is, the crazy thing is, I really do believe, and I'm speaking with, I guess, third-party knowledge here, but I really do believe that it's not so much even a matter of him being fearful, which I think, I pray for his safety. I pray for Candace Owens' safety. It's just that, like, he doesn't want to partake in this because he sees what it does to people. He sees what it does to people being in politics in the United States, which says a lot, right? If you are friends with that many people in DC and you see what it does to them and you've seen it from the inside out, it says a lot. But people are terrified of Tucker, and I say rightfully so. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.